cool. I'm not gonna lie, actually. I would very happily wear one. Oh. Oh.
Oh, hello there. Hi, everyone.
Oh my god, they're gonna have the
Thanks for joining
chopped
us
mic
today.
again.
It has been a absolutely wild last 4 days or so here at ArenaNet and all over the place. Incredibly exciting. And you know, we booked today as a opportunity to just get back together and casually chat about stuff that's going on. To kick us off and recap, just in case you missed what's been happening.
Is mic fine? Is their audio fine or no?
We announced Guild Wars 3 live from Summer Game Fest. And then on Saturday, we released a video where we talked about our long-term commitment to the Guild Wars franchise. And to quote somebody who was in that video, I believe what they said is, "I want you all to know our entire team is committed to actively developing Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2 for many years to come. We are not replacing your favorite games, we'll be supporting them." And I think whoever said that, really, they did a great job.
So humble.
The chat that we're going to have here today, just to be really clear, is about that video that we released on Saturday and the
no Guild Wars 3
to the Guild Wars franchise. That's what we wanted to loop back around and talk more about. We're really not going to talk about Guild Wars 3 today. For the most part, we announced that Guild Wars 3 will go into beta at the end of next year. That's a long ways in the future. We literally just announced the game on Friday. We'll have many, many opportunities in the future. We're going to tell you way more about Guild Wars 3. Today is really talking about Guild Wars 2 and a little bit about Guild Wars Reforged and answering your questions that we've seen come up over the last few days about the franchise. I do want to throw out there that if you do want to know more about Guild Wars 3, you can go to guildwars3.com and you can sign up for our newsletter. Or you can go wishlist it on Steam or on PlayStation 5. That's pretty cool. And also, coming up later this summer, just a friendly reminder, our next really big studio beat is we've announced that we're going to release Guild Wars Reforged on mobile devices, and that's coming up pretty soon now, sometime this summer. More info on a specific date soon.
Oh my god, can I turn off the stream chat?
Going on there as well.
I have to watch this because I declared I'm gonna watch it.
Now till whenever they kick us out of here, we're gonna go
I guess
through
we
a list
learned
of
something more
questions
interesting
that
with Guild Wars
come
2.
up in the community over the last few days that we wanted to be able to speak to and help answer and try to clarify and give some more details.
I'm so mad.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there.
Oh my god, the mic.
I think there's about 6,500.
Do you guys remember Visions of Eternity when their mic was dog shit as well?
So there's a lot of conversation going out there, which is really exciting, actually. But we did try to do our best to find kind of the, I don't know exactly how many questions we got here, but kind of the top line, biggest kind of concerns and stuff that we wanted to chat about with the community a little bit more.
Absolutely. Should we dive into the first one here?
Yeah, this will be interesting to go through. We did a very light rehearsal ahead of this. It turns out we're going to organize this. Our team
Oh my god,
actually
the
was
mic!
working like literally 30 seconds before the stream started, so please bear with us as we go through this, but I really appreciate everyone being here and give us a chance to talk about all the things that are going on.
Yeah, they don't allow us to be on live streams very often anymore.
It's true. This is actually my first, realized this morning, it's my first time being on live stream for ArenaNet in like 10 years. I've done videos, but I haven't done a live stream.
That's wild.
It's my first time not hosting one, actually, so thank you for hosting today, but it's a bit weird to be in the passenger seat on this one.
It's weird to host.
Yeah.
I'm very used to. You're a phenomenal host.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like there's a
Appreciate
skill
that.
set there that we've, and having you be a game director,
I'm glad we're not using it today.
Yeah.
We're gonna fix audio.
Oh.
Oh.
No.
Apparently the audio's messed up.
They can really barely hear you, so
Okay.
it's apparently.
I mean, calling audio was fine.
Switch your microphone.
Nope.
Can you move your microphone off your hoodie?
I'm getting rid of this one.
No, move it off your hoodie.
Move it off my hoodie. Where's it?
Yeah. Your hoodie, it's really, really low. It's not getting close to your mouth.
Oh, you want to go higher?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Holy shit, they can fix the mics. They can fix the game too.
I can't see chat, so I have no idea if you can actually hear me or not, but please tell Stefan and he'll...
It's still so bad, it's so bad. It's so bad. The mic of Josh Davis is the state of Guild Wars 2.
Feedback, but we didn't check the microphones, I guess. If I had hosted, we wouldn't be having this problem.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. Well, lesson learned.
This is me hosting is the problem.
We will do it differently for Guild Wars 4.
He needs to be put down, like the volume,
Guild Wars 4.
and
55
Colin
years
has to
since
go
we
up.
agreed.
Go change another.
The roller beetle racing game. Really looking forward to that one.
He's joking right now, by the way.
Yeah, that's there. I'm joking. There's nothing serious.
This is what they call vamping, I guess. We're filling time.
Wait,
As
what
you
did
see,
he
Stefan's
say?
hard at work trying to fix the live stream
More
for us.
microphones.
A racing game? What did he say?
Sorry. No, you're good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I have a meeting after this,
Okay.
so if we can go a little longer.
How we doing? Can you all hear us now? Yeah.
Microphone check.
Sounds good.
Do we have to start
Okay.
over?
There's no way we're starting over.
I think you should.
Stefan, do we have to start over?
It's up to you, man.
Well, could they hear
Could they
anything?
hear anything we said up until now? Is the real
It was
question.
very bad. Let's start over.
It was very
How
bad.
about
Okay.
Okay, we're
All right.
starting.
Oh no, it was very bad. All right. So a quick recap of what was said earlier, and hopefully better this time. So it's been crazy 4 days.
The mic is
for
so bad.
Renet.
It's worse
been
than mine.
incredibly exciting. I think it's been really fun to watch all of your reactions in the community leading up to last Friday and what's happened since, and really energizing for all of us at the studio. If you missed it for some reason, just to recap, last Friday at Summer Game Fest, we announced Guild Wars 3. And then on Saturday, we released a video announcing our high-level commitment to the future of the franchise and all of our Guild Wars games, Guild Wars Reforged, Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 3. And I will repeat back to you a quote from that is kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk about today. I want you all to know our entire team is committed to actively developing Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2 for many years to come. We are not replacing your favorite games, we'll be supporting them. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. Guild Wars 3 just got announced on Friday. We're not going to go into beta until the end of next year. We've got lots of time to tell you about Guild Wars 3. Today is really about Guild Wars 2 and a little bit about Guild Wars Reforged and our commitment to the franchise. And so what we're going to talk more about is we've seen a large list of questions that have come up in the community since Saturday. And we've tried to identify some of the biggest questions that we wanted to sit down and very
I'll
casually
open
just kind of
Notepads
riff
just
on and
to
talk about
start
together
noting.
and do our best to answer some of those questions as best as we can. If you do want to know more about Guild Wars 3, you can go to guildwars3.com and sign up for our newsletter, or you can go wishlist us on Steam or PlayStation 5. Pretty cool. And you'll be able to find out more about the game by doing all of those things. And we also, I'll use this as a quick opportunity before we dive into questions to plug. We also have another really big thing coming this summer. We're going to release Guild Wars 4 Reforged on mobile.
Okay,
It'll be
that's
our
not a big
first
thing.
ever Guild Wars game playable on mobile.
I almost thought there was
Really
something
exciting
new.
and kind of the next big beat for the studio to look forward to as part of our broad commitment to the franchise. So that's what we're doing. What we're here to talk about today. I don't know, Josh. Before we dive into questions, anything you want to add there?
No, I think we're nailing the casual vibe.
Definitely,
I think the tech issues.
Oh, it's just Q&A?
And I think the second run through was actually,
I feel like it went
marked
better.
improvement. Yeah, I think that's great.
It's all good from here.
And I guess the one piece of context we had before, and I don't know if anyone heard, but just wanted to note that, so we do have a big list of questions that we're going to try to go through here today. Hopefully we can get through everything. Colin and I do have a tendency to just rabbit hole on certain topics for a long period of time, so we'll do our best to try to get through as much as we can in the chat today. But really, all the questions we pulled here are, it's pulled from comments on the forums and on Reddit and social media, Discord, in-game even for a couple of them, and we try to capture kind of the top-level concerns that the community had, and so I think we're very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you folks very directly today about all this, but yeah, we're just going to try to keep it casual, which again, I think we're nailing currently.
Got it. All right. Well, here we go. First question that we've seen. And again, we're doing our best to paraphrase a collection of thousands of questions that we've seen and distill them down into a somewhat coherent sentence. So you're taking a break from expansion development in Guild Wars 2 to deliver Hall of Monuments 2.0, World versus World, updates, a new ore map, and other quality of life updates. But you've also said you'd resume annual updates after Guild Wars 3. Can you clarify if they are updates or expansions?
Yeah, so yeah, I think when I go back and watch that video over and over again, I think this is probably the biggest area that we messed up on, and I think that we were just too ambiguous. I think when we wrote it down, it felt like it was going to be a bit of like, this is a synonym for, talking about expansions. And I think it was unclear. So to be really clear about it, like our intention, our direction is to return to annual expansions for Guild Wars 2. Annual updates feels like the same thing for us internally, but obviously the words have meaning. And so yeah, just say it very directly, our goal is to get back to annual expansions. We've tried a lot of different stuff with Guild Wars 2 over the years. So for a lot of our longtime veterans, which I'm sure there's a lot of them watching right now, they remember the Living World Season 1 experiment, which is, we're not going to ever do expansions for Guild Wars 2. Pivoted into doing major expansions plus Living World, eventually only Living World, back to expansions, and then back to annual. And I think we found that annual expansions are actually the kind of the sweet spot for us, both from a player standpoint, but also from a development standpoint. It's actually a very sustainable thing for us to be able to do.
Yeah.
And it's, contributed to a lot of the success we've been seeing in recent years. So I think that's very much the model that we want to kind of stick with. And, we'll keep producing new content for Guild Wars 2 as long as fans want to keep playing the game.
Absolutely.
Anything to add there?
I think definitely
The mic is dog shit again.
The years on live, experimenting with a lot of different forms of how do we update and support the game, and I think it is, we've seen historically the criticism of, hey, I wish that they would just stick to a thing that we know and deliver on that, and I think we've heard that, we understand that. I think sometimes when we're at our best, we're experimenting and trying new things, but sometimes when we're at our worst, we're experimenting and trying new things as well. And so, I think that fearless spirit is part of what's made ArenaNet successful for all of these years. But sometimes things don't have to be experimented with. Sometimes there's things that just work, and I think that I completely agree with you. I think we found that players love expansions. They love the excitement of the big announcement. They love the launch day. It's a thing that works for live for Guild Wars 2, and so we're really happy with what that's done for us. And I think, you and the GW2 team have done a phenomenal job consistently delivering those too.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll probably talk about it a little bit more later, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. I can.
Next question. Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Are you concerned that taking a 18-month-ish break from expansions in order to deliver these other initiatives is going to hurt the player population of Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, so super reasonable question. Obviously something we thought about a lot when we're kind of building out our strategy for the game. But I think the most important thing to understand is that we chose this path, right? Like there's a lot of different ways that we could have gone. It would have been very easy for us to move right from Expansion 6 development and move right into working on Expansion 7. But we decided that really kind of the period between now and when Guild Wars 3 launches. By the way, this is my first time ever saying Guild Wars 3 publicly. It feels really
weird.
It feels really weird.
We've had to practice for years. Everywhere we go, like, don't say it, whatever you do.
So it feels good. It feels pretty good.
For years.
Anyways, there's a really interesting opportunity for us to, use the release of Hollow Monuments, which we're going to start doing later on this year, as an opportunity to kind of go back and revisit the entirety of the game. And so, the question of, like, are we worried about this harming engagement? I think realistically, with a game that's, as old as ours, I think it would probably hurt engagement more if we didn't actually go back and resolve a lot of these early game problems or problems that have been existing in core content and even previous expansion content. Like, I think that might actually have more of a negative impact on the game long term than taking a break from releasing expansion for a period of time.
And I think we've seen consistently from many of you, I think
I'm gonna crash out.
in particular watching this video, who are among the the most ardent in our community and followed us in many cases for a very long time. We've consistently seen you asking for over many years us to take an opportunity.
How can you have a bad mic? You're multi-millionaire fucking company.
Is the right time to do that, and how do we carve out space for it? And it's always been really hard. And I think that we've seen the reaction already in saying this is what we're going to do. A lot of people are really excited that we've listened and that we are going to go do what a lot of the community has been asking for there.
Yeah, and I think reading through the questions, a lot of it comes from a place of like no one wants to play the MMO that no one's playing. Right?
Yep.
Like that's the worst thing you could have as a player of the game, right? Based on what we saw from the Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2 transition to Hollow Monuments, like there's going to be so many players coming back to play Guild Wars 2, either for the first time ever, I guess. Or players
This quality mic would be good if it was just higher.
And so, am I concerned about there not being players to play with in this period? Like, absolutely not. In fact, I think that what a lot of it's going to feel like is actually the Return to campaign that we ran with Dragons back in 2021, where effectively it almost felt like, in a way, kind of a re-release of the game, in that like players were kind of going from the core game all the way through that into Living World, into Heart of Thorns, and basically the entire community was kind of re-experiencing all that game content for the first time together, and it kind of really felt like release time again.
Yeah.
And I think it's really kind of the vibe that we're going for in this time frame. My expectation is that millions of players are going to come back to Guild Wars 2 over the next couple of years, and so yeah, I think it's really going to be a nice soft landing for them to kind of come back into the game. And, I think
Oh,
there's going to be a ton of stuff going on.
it's directed, Mike. If they turn to each other, it's
a really
bad audio.
compelling time to invite your friends who might have played before and left over the years or never had a chance to play to say, listen, this is what they're doing, and now is the time to come back and play it. We also feel like with Guild Wars Reforged going to mobile and reinvesting back in Guild Wars Reforged, there's a real opportunity there for people to fall in love with the Guild Wars franchise who have never had an opportunity to see it before. And after they play Reforged, they're going to want to go see other Guild Wars stuff, and they're going to go play Guild Wars 2. And that will play out over many years to come. And you know, to your point, even after Guild Wars 3 releases, Hall of Monuments connecting 2 and 3 together is going to act as a tool
Oh my
to
god.
get people who play Guild Wars for the first time with Guild Wars 3 to want to go back and play Guild Wars 2. And when they go back and play that, they're going to see an entirely new, updated experience that this project allows us to have as well.
We're going to take a break.
We're being timed
I
out.
can barely hear you.
They can barely hear me.
You're
Okay.
going to take a break, drink a bit, rewind the last question, drink a bit. We're going to restart it as soon as we can. Calling you something.
Okay. Guess we're taking a break.
Drink a bit.
We'll be right back.
Oh
After these
my
commercial messages.
god. Guys, the studio needs to fix the game as well.
The question you were answering.
Can we restart the question that we were just answering?
So all of the second one?
The whole thing?
Oh,
Okay.
Well, they're going to get a sense of just. Are we live right now, I'm assuming? Okay. So you're going to really get a sense of how casual.
Okay,
it is.
now the mic is good. Just stop.
Absolutely, yeah. This is
Okay.
Josh, you've never heard this question before.
This is fun.
This is.
Well, it
yeah.
started fun. It's giving, you know. Okay, so
Are you concerned that taking an 18-month break from expansions in order to deliver these other initiatives is going to hurt the player population of Guild Wars 2?
yeah. So on my second take on this answer, I'm going to say no. I'm not super concerned. And obviously, we did think about it a lot. I sweat this kind of thing quite a bit in my job. That's pretty much all I think about, to be honest. But no, I actually feel really good about the phase that we're heading into. Like I mentioned before, you know, the Hall of Monuments campaign that we're going to be running and the release of Guild Wars 3 gives us a really good opportunity to kind of go back and retouch the entirety of the game. And a lot of what we're going to try to do here is going to feel very similar to what we did with the Return to campaign for Inn of Dragons. We're effectively, you know, we basically brought players back through all the core game content, into Living World, into every expansion, leading up to the release of EOD. And so it'll be very similar, but this time we're going to add on our 3 more recent expansions and EOD, obviously, into that campaign. And again, this is an opportunity for us to go back and not only bring players back to that content,
A lot
but
of you
also
want
make a bunch of changes and improvements. to the content to
Brazilian
feel a bit
for
more
Guild Wars,
modernized.
so interesting.
Love Guild Wars 2, but a lot of the early content, core game content, I'd say even Heart of Thorns to an extent, and maybe a little bit of Path of Fire, definitely shown a little bit of their age over the years, and so I think we're all really excited with the opportunity to kind of go back and touch that content back up again. And you know, this is stuff that players have been asking for forever. I think that we wish that we could do all these things simultaneously, but you know, unfortunately, trade-offs exist in game development, and so it just felt like kind of the opportune time for us to.
It's a little bit still
address
quiet
some
for
of
me,
our
but
local problems.
Yeah, I mean, I really, you know, to your point about people have been asking, you know, for a lot of this for a long time. I think that's a consistent message we've seen from the community for over 10 years now of like, hey, can you carve out time to go back and clean up a bunch of these areas and some of these you know, be it bugs or gameplay experiences, and you know, we've never really been in a place where we could make that trade-off and carve out time to go do it. And I think you're right; that's perfect. It's exactly the right time to do it. And I think, you know, we feel like
update underwater
when this
combat,
is a
yeah,
franchise
please.
We're going to keep supporting for many, many years to come, and keep investing in Guild Wars Reforged and in Guild Wars 2. There's a real opportunity here for us to address these issues, just as a whole new audience is going to get a chance to play Guild Wars 2 for the first time ever, or a whole group of people who haven't played in a really long time are going to come back. I think Guild Wars Reforged and continuing to expand our investment there, especially with that going to mobile devices for the first time this summer, that's going to introduce an entire new audience to Guild Wars who's never played it before. And someday a bunch of those people are going to go play Guild Wars 2. And we want them to have the best experience they possibly can and fall in love with the Guild Wars 2 experience that you all have and that we have. And similarly, someday farther in the future when Guild Wars 3 releases, you're going to see a whole bunch of people who play Guild Wars 3, and when they have a point where like, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, they're going to look at Hall of Monuments and say, I'm going to go back and play that Guild Wars 2 game and get all the cool stuff in Hall of Monuments. And we want them to have the best experience that they can in GW2 and to fall in love with Guild Wars 2 again at that point too, the way that you all have. And we see this very much as a system that allows that to happen, and we want to have the best experiences we can, and this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And we're gonna have a lot more information to share on all this stuff in the coming months and whatnot. Right now our team is just heads down focused on VOE QR3. We want to make sure that we really land that release well and that it feels like a very fitting end to that expansion. But I know we gave the example of the Zaitan fight. I know it's one that you personally, Colin definitely put his thumb on the scale a little bit for us to take on that initiative. But I think that we want to take a couple of big swings like that as we're kind of going through and looking at all the expansion content. I know there's encounters in Heart of Thorns and Pathfire and even other expansions that we'd love to go back and retool in a very similar way. And so I think there's gonna be a lot of really exciting stuff. Honestly, it's not just gonna be all bug fixing.
Zaitan's a great one. Of like, I don't know if we've ever shared this story. Why not? We're here. The tech, the capacity to actually have the tech to do like the moving platforms and some of the stuff that happens in the Zaitan fight, it didn't come online until like 3 weeks before the game released, 2 weeks before the game released. And so by the time the tech was fully functional and we were all sweating bullets, like, hey, is this ever even, like, we're going to ship the game and it doesn't even work. And the tech came online just at the very end. And so we basically had, 2 weeks before launch to try to throw together something that made that an experience that would work. I don't think it's anything close to what any of us had hoped that it would be. I was happy that it even functioned by the time the game shipped. And we're pretty terrified right to the last possible minute. And so
That's
I think
funny.
It's going to be really fun. Anything like that in retrospect, it's going to be impossible for the team to ever make it live up to what people in their minds now are imagining it could turn into. Like, we still have to work within the constraints of the model and the animation and the stuff that's in that level. But whatever we can do to make it better is going to be worth it compared to, hey, we just barely got it out the door that it was when the game shipped.
I think if we could just reduce the amount of time you spend on a cannon,
Yeah.
I think it'd be good. My one ask.
It was
of the team.
basically.
Oh my god,
just
Zaitan
stand there
fight.
firing cannons.
It would be cool if they turned Zaitan fight into like a raid
Yeah,
or
and I guess just one
something.
last reminder. This is all covered in the video that we put on Saturday, but like, it's not like we're not doing any content this time frame either, right? Like, so choosing to not do an expansion in this time frame allows us to do some other really cool stuff. So the fact that we're going to be adding a new map in Ore, the details of this are going to be really high level. I'm not going to expand on it today. We'll have plenty of time to expand on it in the future. But being able to have a little bit of connective tissue between Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3, I think is really exciting. And so like we're going to be definitely heads down working on that. And then the new War vs. World Borderlands map is another really big initiative that we're taking on, and we're really only able to do that because we're taking a bit of a break from expansion development. And so there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that's going to be going on in this time frame outside of just the modernization efforts.
Yeah. And it's a perfect time to make a brand new character to go through and experience all of those areas as we're updating them along the way too.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah, I'll make a new character for sure.
You're a warrior main?
I'm an NG main.
NG main? Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
NG main?
Wow. So you heard it here
Ew.
first, ArenaNet engineer favoritism.
We have never put our hands on the scale for balance, by the way. Ever.
Guardian has been dethroned as the favorite.
Yeah.
At least that's what the internet tells me.
You ready for another one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not do expansions and this modernization effort at the same time? as
Because
well?
they don't have capacity.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think we might end up getting a little bit of inside baseball here, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that every developer you talk to, no matter what game they're working on, wishes they could do all the things all the time.
Yep.
We want expansions to have 8 maps and 20 new elite specs, or well, it's not a round number. 18 elite specs. Engineer would get 2 extras.
That's
because
okay.
of
That makes
favoritism.
sense. That's fair.
Yeah,
we would definitely force that to happen.
Yeah, for sure. But we all wish that we could do infinite things effectively, right? But like we do have a fixed team size, and we've got the business needs, the business concerns, I guess, that we've got to kind of keep in mind. And so I think the reality is that we could choose to do both.
Yeah,
but I think
they
we
are
could
talking
do,
between each other.
Things in a fairly overwhelming fashion on both sides. The content would be either more sparse or would be even further spaced out than it already is, which would certainly have some folks pretty unhappy. And I think that we wouldn't do nearly as good of a job on the quality of life stuff as we would want to. We have been trying to make an effort to carve out some time to work on quality of life issues over the past couple of years, especially when it comes to the new features that we're releasing. Like, how do we take things that already exist in the game and bring them up to a bit more of a modern design standard? My favorite example of this is Wizard's Vault, right? Which is effectively daily achievement system and a couple other older systems, and kind of repackaging it in a way that feels a bit more modern and is a bit more player friendly, right? So we've taken a couple big swings like that in the context of expansions, but I think that this phase is going to allow us to do that in a much more robust way, because we're not going to have to worry about only doing things for the latest expansion. We can basically touch everything in the game. So yeah, I think it really just comes down to it's just constraints, and so we want to do this right, and just felt like kind of the right time for us to do it. And we wish that we could do all the things all at once, but it's not how things work, unfortunately. Time is a big constraint. People's a big constraint. I'm pretty excited about what we're gonna be able to do. Anything you want to add there?
I don't think so.
Cool. All right, want to move on?
Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead.
You want me to read this one?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's put those old hosting skills to work.
Oh my gosh, the pressure. We've seen a number of players say that this plan sounds ambitious and exciting. Well, thank you, first of all. I love that feedback. I didn't write that. What makes you think you're going to be able to deliver on it up to the release of Guild Wars 3?
I think that's probably among the most consistent pieces of feedback that we've seen across since Saturday is like, this is awesome, but can they deliver? Will they deliver it? And I think the first answer is we already have been, and we have been for years. And I think that that's a really important note for everybody to take into account is, you're all hearing this for the first time on Saturday when we made this announcement.
Did they?
This
I
message
mean,
is one that we've been saying internally to the entire ArenaNet team for years, and preparing for this moment for years, and practicing and working this way for years, as Guild Wars 3 has been in development for years, while we've been shipping an expansion for Guild Wars 2 every year across this period of time. And
yeah, fair.
we've partnered with 2 Weeks to start building back up Guild Wars Reforged all at the same time as well. So this isn't a brand new initiative that's suddenly now, yesterday that we all scrambled and tried to figure out how do we do. We've already been doing it.
And this is probably getting a little inside baseball, but I think that the way that we structure the studio is also a big part of this, right?
Yep.
And so, again, this is kind of more about how we develop games here, right? But fundamentally, there's a couple different approaches we could take when it comes to staffing and building these various games, right? A lot of these studios lean heavily into the concept of shared teams or shared service teams, where you've got a design department that's across all different games, and you're constantly moving folks back and forth as needed. The approach that we've taken pretty much from the very beginning, years and years back, right, was basically, I kind of think of it as we effectively are operating almost like 2 mini studios within ArenaNet, where all the resources that are dedicated to working on Guild Wars 2 are full-time dedicated to working on Guild Wars 2, and they're not shared with Guild Wars 3, and vice versa, right? And so what it really means is that as game directors, we basically we know exactly the folks that we've got on the team, what their capacity is, what their bandwidth is, and we can really build schedules and timelines around that, and not have to worry about potential competing needs from other projects, borrowing or taking resources. And I think so far it's been, oh, I think we're good. Okay, sorry. I saw movement in the background. I thought we were having to take a break again.
Don't look at each other. Look at the camera. They can't hear you well.
Oh, okay. I'm not supposed to look at Colin anymore, apparently.
All right. I can't look at Josh.
It's gonna be really hard.
When we look at each other, the mics stop working, and so we are now going to focus just on all of you.
His smile's so magnetic, it's hard to not look at him when you talk to him.
Finally, they will talk at us.
Resource sharing and
Yeah.
dedicated.
So the model that we've landed on, right? Oops, sorry. The model that
It's
we've
really hard
landed
not
on.
to look at each other.
I know. The model that we've landed on is effectively to have 2.
It's Pride Month. Let them be.
mini studios within ArenaNet, right? I don't know if there's anything you want to add there.
Yeah, we did early on. There's some moments where we tried some experiments of hey, let's have a person working partially on both games, and I think that what we found is it's just really bad for us. It's bad for that person. They have to try to keep context in 2 completely different areas, 2 completely different engines and tool sets and tech stacks to understand. And the reality is, I know a lot of studios do work that way. What we found for ArenaNet is that's not best for us. And so, as Josh said, by knowing these are the dedicated resources that our team has, these are what we're going to be able to do, we're able to plan for a constrained schedule and deliver the stuff that we want to do without risk of, hey, suddenly this project needs some help, and so we got to move people over there. And it's forced some really hard decisions at times. In years leading up till now, there's been moments where we've said, hey, there's a gap over here, it'd be great to fill it. And the answer is no, Guild Wars 2 shipping and expansion, we're not messing with that. We're not going to pull resources. They're staying on Guild Wars 2. and we need to find other solutions for that on the other project. And even now with Guild Wars Reforged, and a lot of that work is obviously being split between ArenaNet and 2 Weeks working together, which makes it easier. But we really almost have like a third little mini studio inside of ArenaNet as well across the 3 different games that are in flight, which is really fun. It's awesome. You know, it's a dream we had going all the way back to, you know, I remember Mo talking about it in 2007, 2008, being at a point where we would have multiple different game teams at ArenaNet that were live and or shipping games, and it's taken us a long time to get there, but it's pretty incredible to be at that point.
Yeah, only 19
We've learned a
years.
lot over the years on how to do that right for ArenaNet so that we can deliver a plan like this. And you know, like we said earlier, we have been planning for this. We have already been doing it. And I think the real question, and this is the thing you're all going to have to tell us, is, you know we can deliver on the strategy. Do you like the outcome? So we have the resources to do it. Yes. That is one of the questions people have asked is, do you have the capacity to do it? The answer is yes. But the part that's on us, that comes down to actions, not words, is, do you like the stuff that we're doing? Do you love Guild Wars 3 and the things that it does? And some of you won't. That's okay. You can play Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1. Hopefully enough people do that it's really successful. Do you like the stuff that we're doing in Guild Wars 2 as we do this initiative, and with Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars Reforged? That is the criteria that now we have to go deliver on, but we're not constrained by resources to do it, which is exciting.
So I think a thing has dawned on me in this conversation. I think some of the concern that I have heard, I'm making an assumption here. I think that there's maybe a concern out there that we are moving people off of Guild Wars 2 onto Guild Wars 3 while we're in this maintenance mode, or this maintenance phase, or whatever people are calling it, right? Yeah. That is not the case at all. So basically, the entire team that we would have be building expansions in the future is staying on Guild Wars 2 during this entire phase. They're just repurposed and refocused to working on the modernization efforts effectively. And so we're not lending or sharing or moving a bunch of people off temporarily, then bringing them back. They're actually staying on Guild Wars 2 the entire time, but we're just refocused to work entirely on modernization, the Borderlands map, and the Ore map effectively.
And so, then they will go back to building expansions. Yep,
yeah,
that's
so
right.
I think it's been like obvious to us, right? But like maybe we haven't said it explicitly, so I just wanted to be really clear about that.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Oh, we have also been looking at the wrong camera. Nice, nailing it.
Yeah,
oh
we're doing
man,
a good job here.
we're.
That's crazy.
You know, if we intentionally wrote a list of things that we could do to make this feel more casual and haphazardly thrown together, I don't know if we would have come up with everything we've done so far.
I'm gonna take off my shoes.
Go for it. You know, I wore shorts to work today, and I put on.
Do you
pants
see the
today.
chat? How
But
many
I
people
just
are
gotta put
crying
something-
about chars?
And now I feel like I shouldn't have. I'm disappointed in myself. All right, the next question.
Yeah. I guess I'll read this one.
I feel like I should read this one
Okay.
because it's a really good one for you to answer.
Okay, all right,
and
go
for
for
me
it.
to nod. I'm not supposed to look at you. I forgot.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, they
Go for
can
it.
look
Josh
at each other.
Davis, regarding the Hall of Monuments, will we be rewarding? Will we be rewarded for accomplishments we've already achieved, or will everything require us to replay content?
Yeah. So this is a really good question, and what I'd say is that, I'm going to offer a little bit of insight here, but there's going to be a lot more information about Hall of Monuments to come later on this year, right? So we just freshly announced this. There's not a lot of detail out there yet. There'll be a more formal big announcement later on this year. But I think from a design standpoint, we want to try to find a way to do both effectively, right? Like I think it's really important to us that we find ways to honor the time and investment that players have put into Guild Wars 2 over the past, going on 14 years now, effectively, right? I mean, there are players who've spent, hundreds of hours in the game. There are players who spent tens of thousands of hours in the game, right? Like I'm not even sure who has the most account age at this point, or the most time played at this point, but that there are multiple players with 30,000, 40,000 hours that have
Wild.
over the past
Wow.
14 years. When you think about it over the
I
past
have only
14 years,
2K.
right? And we do want to try to find a way to bring a lot of that accomplishment that they've already achieved effectively into the Hall of Monument system, but at the same time, we do want to find ways to encourage them to go play that new content or the new refreshed content we talked about earlier, along with the rest of the community. And so I would expect a healthy mix of both, effectively, in that system. I guess some additional info I can that I'll throw out here a little bit is in terms of the structure for the releases. So right now, I wish we could go out of order, to be honest, because so we're starting with the core game. The core game is the biggest chunk of the game possible, right? It's the thing that we spent 7 years developing initially, right?
Yep.
And then we've also done a lot of work on it since then. And so I think we could probably spend an entire year just focused on the core game. But unfortunately, just because of how things work and the fact that we're going chronologically, is going to be the first release that we're going to do. We're actually breaking the out into 2 releases, though, just to give ourselves a little bit more time. And so the first release will be a bit more focused on core game systems. And then the second release will be focused more on core game open world content and story content. And then we'll go into each of our expansions from kind of there on, which will also include all the associated living world releases as well. And those are probably spaced I'd say probably a month and a half to 2 months apart from each other. And kind of in between all of that, there'll be a very similar structure to what we talked about with the Return to campaign, where each week there's kind of like new achievements and Wizards Vault objectives these days to actually go and accomplish in those areas of the game. So we'll have a lot more information out later this year. I'm personally very excited about it. A lot of really cool stuff going on in there. You'll also be able to earn rewards in Guild Wars 2 as well as Guild Wars 3, which I think is pretty exciting as well. And so even if you're not super interested in playing Guild Wars 3, which I know everyone is, but if you just wanted to earn the Guild Wars 2 rewards, like that's totally
That's
option for
okay
you
too.
as well.
Divide this into 2 releases of
there's,
HLM.
I think, a lot
First
of
is
learnings
core game,
from
second
the
is
original
story,
system that were
and
pretty
then
good
expansion living port with returning to style events.
Absolutely.
Release
Yeah,
about every
hopefully
month.
All stuff that's really exciting for everybody. We're really curious to hear your feedback in particular, but I think this is a uniquely ArenaNet thing. There's not a lot of games that do this. We're gonna, I think, talk more later today. There's a few questions that go more into kind of like our franchise strategy, and so we'll talk more about that later. But like, this is something that we very intentionally do to align with our pillars of feeling like your time is respected and your investment is respected. And we really want to do the next iteration of Hall of Monuments right. So it feels like, just like with each of our games, there's innovation and evolution. We want to apply the same process to Hall of Monuments here.
Cool. Ready for me to go to the next one?
Let's do it. All right.
Okay. Is Guild Wars Reforged going to be connected to the new Hall of Monuments system?
All right. Well, we've said lots of happy, exciting news. This is one where I have to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer, at least today. The answer is, for now, no. Right now, we are focusing on connecting Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3 via Hall of Monuments. Guild Wars 1 already connects to Guild Wars 2 via Hall of Monuments. And the Guild Wars Reforged team, in particular, our very small ArenaNet team and our partners at 2 Weeks Games, right now they're focused on 2 major initiatives. They're going to ship this game on a brand new platform that ArenaNet's never been on before. That is a huge focus for them. And this summer, we're incredibly excited to have Guild Wars Reforged be playable on your phone and to reach a brand new audience, and also hopefully for all of us a chance to go back and play again.
What is
in Guild Wars 1
Guam?
and play the game that started it all in a new way. And then, just on Saturday, Steven, our game director for Guild Wars Reforged, also announced they're working on a brand new type of content for Guild Wars Reforged as well, and they're focused on that. And so those are their big priorities right now, and we will reevaluate and look at things for Hall of Monuments more in the future. I do want to explicitly call out that I've seen this question asked along with the most common piece of feedback that I've seen as part of this is, I wish that the God Walking Among Mere Mortals title was carried over because it's so important from Guild Wars Reforged. And I do want to call out, I think I understand that, I hear that feedback, and it's something that we'll go and review and discuss internally. Right now, our focus for Guild Wars Reforged is not on Hall of Monuments, but it is feedback that we've heard, and so I think it's really important to take a moment and just call out, we have seen that, and we have seen that comment in the community, so we appreciate that. More updates someday in the future, but right now, we're focused on Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3.
Cool. I think you should ask the next one.
Yes. All right. How confident are you that Guild Wars 2's engine can realistically support things like PBR without breaking performance? And that is not Pabst Blue Ribbon, for the record, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah, so again, this is a really good question. I was surprised that so many folks were digging into this one so much. It is a very, it's a challenge, honestly. We're taking a game, so I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like the game engine for Guild Wars 2 is actually built off of GB1, right? Like a lot of that.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, a mix of early GW1 stuff and then really a whole bunch of standalone stuff on top of that. But yeah, I mean, it's uniquely its own engine. It is not an off-the-shelf engine. It's not Unreal. It's our own in-house built thing.
But I guess my appreciate the context. Yeah. I guess my point with a lot of that is like you could still go into our code base now and find code that was written for Guild Wars 1 that's executing right now on live, basically, right? Like, a lot of that stuff still exists. And so, the idea of taking a game engine that was originally built for Guild Wars 1 that's been kind of, has evolved over time and trying to do more and more things to modernize it is a really, it's a huge technical challenge, right? And I think that that hasn't stopped us, obviously. We've been doing a lot of things in recent years to, one, implementing DirectX 11. We've got more modern shader technology that we're using now, improved texture compression. We just recently did a update with the launch of VOE for improved shader technology. And I think we've learned a lot from every single one of these releases. And I think that, there's been some things that have gone really well for us and have only been a bonus or a plus to the player experience. And I think there's been some that haven't landed exactly the way we wanted them to, mostly because there are thousands and thousands of hardware configurations out there that's hard for us to replicate internally. But I think it's I think this is a thing that we have to do for the game. I think that players want to see the game continue to evolve over time and to feel more modern, and they don't want it to feel like a relic of 2012 effectively. And so it is a tough challenge, but I think one that we're very excited to take on. And so PBR, the PBR upgrade specifically, I think is a really interesting one in that the real technical challenge here is not so much how do we get PBR to work in Guild Wars 2, but it's how do you actually have assets that were built outside of the PBR pipeline, so things that we already got in the game, live alongside assets actually rendered or developed in a PBR pipeline, and how do you make it feel like a cohesive game world experience and not feel like you've got things, well, it's like, well, it's pre, 2026, 2027, that's the old stuff and here's the new stuff. Like, we want it to feel cohesive, right? And so finding a way to do that, I think, is actually the biggest challenge. I think, reading through the comments over the weekend, I think probably the biggest concern is performance, and what does an upgrade like this mean for the performance for the game long term. So I think the main thing to understand here is that we're actually doing work on both fronts kind of simultaneously, right? So we've got folks that are dedicated to working on client and server perf, and then separately there are folks that are working on improving fidelity of the game generally. I do think we need to find headroom in performance in order to be able to make some of these improvements possible, though, right? So, like, if we didn't address performance at all and just continue trying to add new fancy stuff to the game, like, obviously that would start to make it so that certain players couldn't play the game anymore, and I think that'd be really problematic. And so these initiatives are effectively happening kind of in parallel with each other. But absolutely, we do have to address the performance problem as well. And it also manifests a lot of different ways, right? When I say performance, there's really kind of two large categories of those things, both of which we're working on. So one is client performance. Client performance is like your frame rate, right? Like, so when you're running around in Wolver's World or any sort of like large-scale populated map, and your frame rate starts to chug, and it feels like your screen's not updating very often, that's client performance, right? And that's a big focus of ours. Then separately, there's server performance, which is, what can feel like lag or latency. If you play Wolver's World, I'm going to say a thing that you've all experienced before, which is you push a button, and then you don't see your cast bar go off, right? And like maybe a couple seconds later, it finally executes. That's a different kind of performance problem, but it's still a performance problem, and one that we're very much taking a look at. In fact, this year we actually deployed some brand new monitoring and diagnostic technology to live, very silently. We didn't talk about it or announce it publicly, but it's actually giving us a lot of really great information in terms of ways that we can actually tackle optimization for the game on live, and so a lot of really cool stuff happening on that front right now.
Yeah, and I think that this goes back to a theme that we've already talked about today and is worth reinforcing. Of one of the questions that we're seeing coming out of our Saturday Future of the Franchise video is like, hey, is this real? Are they going to stick to this plan? Is this commitment to supporting all three games something that in the future they're going to keep doing? You don't make investments like this into updating the technology on a game like Guild Wars 2 unless the goal is to continue to invest.
Folks, we've heard feedback for both PTBR transition and char race requests. Can we please focus on the topic of the stream?
Things like this, and carving out time to do a lot more of it. These are things you do if you want this game to be around, what would you say, 15 more years?
At least.
At least, I'd love to, recently we had somebody retire from ArenaNet. It was pretty awesome. It's not a thing that you see happen in the game industry basically ever. I would love to be able to look around and say a bunch more people have retired from ArenaNet someday and are off living their best dreams of being retired and playing Guild Wars all day long while they're retired, and hanging out and watching the game continue to get updated and supported at that point as well. And this stuff is what you do to make that possible.
Well said.
Page 1 of questions.
There was one other note I had. This doesn't follow on what you were just saying just now at all. I should have mentioned it earlier, but I think one of the learnings that we took away from some of the recent fidelity upgrades, for example, is that where possible, we need to make some of these things optional. And so with the shadow technology specifically, we've been going back and adding a lot more granularity in terms of controls that players have to make sure that, if for whatever reason the new settings don't work well for them on their rig or whatever, they still have the ability to kind of fall back into the way that things used to be. And the drop downs that we've added aren't the final solution for that problem. Obviously, we want to make sure that everyone can kind of benefit from those changes. But if we do roll a change out and there's any chance that it's impacting players' experience, we want to make sure that players can opt out as much as possible and be able to continue playing the game the way that they were.
It's a great learning.
Yeah. Huh? It makes things harder.
Yep.
I will say our options menu is getting pretty lengthy, and maybe that's a candidate for us to take a look at some point.
You all tell us on the forums if you think that that's one of the most important things to look at.
Duncan's been telling me.
Okay.
Our UI UX guy. Yeah. All right. Want to move on?
Yeah. Here, this is a opportunity. I think one of the things we really like to try to do as much as we can, and hopefully you see this, is when we make mistakes, we own it and talk about what have we learned and how do we move forward. And I think one of the questions that's come up a lot as we start talking about a new Borderlands for World versus World is what went wrong with Desert Borderlands, and how specifically are you going to make sure that you avoid repeating the mistakes that happened with that map as you're making a new Borderlands map for World versus World.
Yeah, this is a fun one to talk about. I think the hard part about World vs. World developing for it is that you've got so many different types of players that engage in the game mode very differently, and it is near impossible to implement solutions or changes that I think appeal to everyone. So you've got your roamers and your players that do nothing but PBT. You've got your what's a good way of phrasing this? Players.
I'm not a World versus World player, so I don't really care about this.
In uncoordinated large group fashion, you've got folks that like to be very coordinated in a large group. There's just so many different ways to play the game. Oh, you got roamers, right? You've got your scouts. There's all different types of gameplay. And so I think if I was to poll those groups, they'd all feel very differently about why Desert Borderlands wasn't that appealing for them. But what I would say, from my perspective, is it kind of came down to a couple different things. One is it's too big. I think it really kind of goes into it's hard to find fights. It takes forever to respawn, and if you end up wiping for whatever reason, trying to get back to where the fight was takes forever. It feels like a big grind. Way too much verticality in the map. And I think we'll talk about that here more in a minute. Kind of the root cause behind all this. But just for a World vs. World map specifically, just way too much verticality makes it not very fun. Hard to navigate, obviously. And then I think a lot of the objectives that we had just kind of felt very weak compared to stuff that already existed in Alpine and EBG. But we were talking about this before the call, and you actually had a really good call out in terms of how we got there that I thought maybe you would expand on.
Yeah. I mean, I think where did we begin with Desert Borderlands, I think, is a really good learning as we look back on even the ArenaNet process. We were making gliding for Heart of Thorns. And so we were so enamored with this idea of verticality in the maps in HOT and the freeform movement, and trying to lean into some of the things we did with Joy of Movement, that we started with a feature for that Desert Borderlands and said, let's make this about gliding and using movement and using all these new movement abilities. And I think anytime that you start with something like that, and you start with a feature instead of starting with what's the intended player experience, you're probably in a lot of trouble. And I think that led to a lot of the problems that we ended up having with that map in the first place, is rather than starting with what's best for World versus World, we started with what's best for gliding. And I don't think that's ever what World versus World players wanted. And it's a really important lesson that we have to take as we look at the next one that we make is, hey, what's the experience we're trying to create? And as Josh said, it's hard because there's a lot of different experiences people want out of WoWa. But still starting with the player experience first and trying to align with that rather than starting with a feature is always just a better approach, and not something we did with that map.
Colin just said WoWa. That's what we call it internally, or used to call it internally. And in fact, people who join the team now, they're like, what the heck are you guys saying? WoWa? So he means World versus World.
Yes, sorry.
He's just old school.
Been around too long.
Okay, yeah, so all great context, and I think that we made it even worse for ourselves because we basically didn't work alongside the community to validate that the thing that we made was any good or was actually going to meet the player needs. Basically, we built it in isolation, and we showed up one day with an announcement trailer that was like, look at this cool thing we made. You're all going to be very excited about it. And it turns out that most players weren't that excited about it. And so I think we learned our lesson there. I think we want to basically do the same thing we did with PvP Rush, the new game mode that we released with Janther Wilds, which is effectively let's put out the earliest, ugliest version of a map possible, gray box state, a prototype effectively. And that way we're mostly focused on the layout and the gameplay, and we've got maximum ability to change these things without basically losing a bunch of work and time and effort. And then once we lock in on what we want the map to play like, and players agree that this is the right direction for the map, only then do we go, okay, cool, let's actually allow our artists to go and build the final version of the map, as long as we're preserving the layout and the gameplay that we all got aligned on. And so, I don't think we have a hard deadline or timeline for how long it's going to take for us to deliver the map. I think this is.
I wonder if they're going to address the
we
visual
wanna
clutter
sit down
in
and
Guild Wars
solve
3.
the problem, or
In Guild Wars
type
2,
of
sorry.
problem, effectively. And so, but I do anticipate that we'll probably run betas over the course of probably close to a year on live in various forms. Right, some of these will be really early on, and you'll kind of start to see the progress as we kind of go through. But I'm really excited about the opportunity there. And this is pretty atypical, I would
No
say.
clutter in
for-
Guild Wars 2,
for a
sure.
map, or really kind of any sort of live game, right? I think to bring players in this early. I know that PTRs exist, obviously, but the idea of doing this in a live game, I think, is just what's really compelling. One of the risks of PTRs is that you get a really small slice of your audience that goes and plays it. Only the folks that are willing to go download an extra 100 gig client and play at very specific times. This really means that anyone can play and participate and provide feedback, which I think is really powerful. And we run our early specs betas on live too, right? Like we've been doing that for every expansion, and the volume of feedback that we get because everyone can participate is huge, right? And if we were to do these on PTRs, I think we'd be only getting a very small number of players that are willing to go through all those hurdles and hoops. And I still don't think we'd be able to deliver as good a content as we do.
Remove downstate, what the fuck?
I think it's fantastic. And by the time we realized Desert Borderlands was a miss, it was basically done, and it was impossible for us to go back and without a massive investment to go back and redo it. And so it's really exciting to see this approach. And I think the things that we have done this way have been much better than those that we don't. Involve our community as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, going back to where I started, I think the big challenge here is we do have a lot of players that play the game very differently.
Yep.
And so trying to find a version of a new Borderlands map that will, I think, appease everybody is going to be a tough challenge. Obviously, we've got maps that do it pretty well already. And so I think as long as we, stick close to what we know already and, what players tend to enjoy, I think we'll probably end up in a good spot.
Yeah. It's tough.
Who the fuck plays Sword versus
there's
Sword?
almost no update we've ever made to World versus World that universally everybody likes. It's very hard to do. There's always a subset of players that it doesn't work for their version of the way that they want the game to work or the way that they play it. And so that is a really hard challenge and a tough thing as we go forward with that. But I think if we get enough excitement.
Yeah. Gosh golly, World vs. World is really hard to develop for. At certain points, I think that we're even a little afraid of the audience, afraid of of breaking things. And I think we had some really hard conversations even just recently about look, we got to try stuff. I know it's really scary to do things, and there's going to be players that don't like the things that we're doing for a variety of reasons, but that doesn't mean that we can't do anything. And so I think just getting a lot more comfortable with trying stuff, and then being comfortable with turning things off or rewinding those changes if they don't actually achieve the goals that we have. And so I think it's given us a little bit more confidence in over the past year or so.
And I think there's some great examples of that. I think the stuff that the team.
Can we skip World versus World?
Is a great example of hey, we released it. Feedback wasn't what we wanted it to be, and we sat down and said, here's what we're going to do to address it. Here's a roadmap of how we're going to do that, and then we've systemically, point by point, gone through and updated. I think that's us at our best. Obviously shipping something that a subset of people are upset about is not us at our best, but when we do, owning it, talking about it, laying out a roadmap and addressing it. And so hopefully, if we do miss on some things through this process, we'll do the same thing then too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm going to ask the next one.
Yeah.
Because I think you can actually talk about some of the core game design stuff a little bit and maybe some technology stuff.
Yep.
And then we'll go from there.
That sounds good.
So how will you ensure that Guild Wars 2 maps, metas, and older content remain populated during this transition?
No, I guess the first one is it's part of our strategy, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is we anticipate millions of players to come play Guild Wars 2, either coming back who haven't played in a long time, or
Millions is
players
a
who
little
play
bit
Guild Wars
over exaggeration, I
or play
think.
Guild Wars 3. and fall in love and want to go play Guild Wars 2. All of those things are a big part of our strategy, and we believe will play a role in helping make
They
sure
should
that the game is
open like
always
Asian
popular.
server. It's insane. Asian
Call of
server
Monuments in
doesn't
the
exist,
future
by the way.
serves a similar purpose as well, of having players come back so that it's always populated.
Can I jump in real quick? Right
Yeah,
here?
yeah, go
This
ahead.
This is a good spot, actually. If you don't mind,
Yeah.
just jump off and talk about some of the recent stuff from the announcement. If you don't mind.
No, please.
So you just talked about seeing a lot of players come back to the game.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention this is already happening actually. And so since the announcement on Friday, we've actually seen like a 40% increase in the number of daily active users playing.
40%
The game
increase.
is already doing incredibly well. I know that players follow our financial reports very closely and are commenting always on how much money we're making and whatnot. And so you know that things are going pretty well for us right now. And we've seen a 40% increase in our daily active users, which is pretty fantastic.
14 or
Week over
40?
week, we
I think
saw
40.
a 45% increase in concurrency in the live game, which is amazing and wild. I always had hopes that the announcement would be a positive overall impact to the game. Obviously, we assume things would be positive, but has absolutely exceeded my expectations on that front. I think the other big one too, two other stats I'd love to share. One is, and hopefully I don't get hit like a marketing team sniper. We're talking about this.
No one behind the camera is running at you yet. So far, good.
Two other really cool stats. It was Saturday, I believe. We had our single best day for new player acquisitions. The highest number of new players joining the game for the very first time on Saturday since our initial launch on Steam back in 2022.
That's
which
incredible.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And then the last really cool one. So we'd actually set a bit of a record with VOE in terms of the number of players coming back to Guild Wars 2 who hadn't played the game in a year or more. So players that had lapsed out of the game, that had moved
Okay.
on, taken a break for whatever reason. We set a record with VOE in terms of the number of players coming back to the game, which is great. We absolutely crushed that on I think it was on Saturday, almost 2x the record that we had set with VOE. And again, these are players who haven't played the game over a year, coming back to Tyria, coming back to Guild Wars 2 for the first time in again over a year. Early signals are very strong. Love what we're seeing right now, and I think a lot of this just kind of really gives us a lot of confidence that the strategy we've got, and looking to give players a bit of a soft landing as we get into the Holiday Monuments phase, I think is feeling very validated right now.
That's fantastic, and I think that speaks to the answer to this question: is how are these areas going to be full of players? Well, right, this is what we're doing, and they are showing up, and tons of people are coming back. I think also, if you look at the technology that Guild Wars 2 is built on, a lot of it is set up to support a broad array of players. I think the mega server system in particular.
I really like the mega server
remote,
system, to be honest.
You create a new character, you then sign up for what world you're going to play on, and the world you play on determines the number of players that you can play with and see in the world. And eventually, that server, that world, as populations decline, there's less and less people to play with.
They have to merge.
Servers together, or
Yeah.
close servers. So that
Luster
populations
had this
constantly
problem, which
managed.
fucking annoyed me,
Guild
by
Wars 2
the
doesn't
way.
work that way. We use a system under the hood called mega servers.
Still
that basically
has.
creates as many or as few copies of a map as is needed based on the number of players who are currently online, which allows us to constantly make it feel like and have it be that the world is populated.
I
around
really
you with
like the
tons of
mega
players.
servers.
And so we're already set up for this. We anticipate this. We've built out a system under the hood that allows the game to be fluid in the number of players. It's why even when you play at like 3 in the morning, there's still a bunch of people running around everywhere. And so our back end system is built so that we can.
It's
operate this
insane.
way,
It's
and it will
it's
help us.
honestly one of the
And I
things.
think that's an important part of the message as well.
Sorry if I'm speaking over,
Yeah,
but like, it's
I think
one
there's
of
a
the
lot we
things
can
that
do, though,
really
in this timeframe
struck
specifically
me
to try to
once.
address that problem. So I'm going to say a thing right now. This is just my gripe as game director / player, and I'm not saying that we're doing this right now or that we're fixing this, but I wouldn't be surprised in the future if we do. I think one thing about Guild Wars 2, it's a very expansive game, right? There's a lot of cool things you can do. It's not always obvious what you should be doing, especially as a new player. Or even if you've been out of the game for any amount of time, and you come back to it, it's almost overwhelming. Like, where the heck do I go? And we've added some things to try to improve this, right? With like Wizard's Vault, like, hey, here's a very clear objective of the thing that we recommend you go and do based on your kind of gameplay preferences. But there's still a lot of work that can be done. And I think probably even a bigger challenge is that a lot of the information that you need in order to play Guild Wars 2 is stuff that's not available in the game itself. This is probably a thing we'll never be able to fully fix, just
Yeah.
given how robust Guild Wars 2 is, honestly. But like, I know a lot of our veteran players are very familiar with /wiki, and a lot of our veteran players are very familiar with
I love wiki.
/wiki event timers or ET, right? Like event timers or events just generally, world bosses, whatever. Like some of the most like staple content in Guild Wars 2. It's our bread and butter, and there's really no way to know that it's happening in game unless you just happen to know because you're a veteran, you've been around, or you go to the Wikipedia. And so I think finding ways to surface more of that information inside the game client is going to be one of the big opportunities ahead of us. Just making sure that players really understand all the options that are available to them at any moment in time, effectively.
Yeah, and I imagine, in the long-term roadmap, as time goes on further and further, some of the stuff that your team is going to do and adjust is going to be based on what's going on in the game. And so if there are more things we need to do someday, many years down the road, to help make it easier for players to play together or to account for the current population, those are the types of things that we would do, because the intent is to keep the game running for as long as we possibly can.
15 years and beyond.
And,
Sorry.
all these years later, 21 years later, Guild Wars 1 is still running as Guild Wars Reforged. And same thing for Guild Wars 2. There'll have to be some updates at some point to adjust to whatever's going on in the game at that point. And hopefully there's just so many people playing it that the updates you need to be doing are dealing with the overwhelming population. And how do you handle all of those players?
Yep. I'm not saying that you should go on the forums and complain about event timers not being visible in the game. But if you do, I mean, that's okay. Just don't say that I said to go do that. Don't put my name in the post. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I think this one's for you, so
Okay.
I will ask this one. Oh, by the way, Stefan, how are we doing on time? I feel like we're in a bit of a vortex over here.
It's been an hour.
It's been an hour. Well, I think we've got a couple more that we came prepared for, so you just want to keep rolling? And
Sure.
we'll
Yeah,
end whenever?
let's roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for not keeping it to an hour. We're doing our best over here.
I feel like they didn't answer as much stuff. I don't know.
We're winging it.
We're in a void. We're in the
Yeah.
mists. We have no concept of time, place, anything.
Yep.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice. Welcome to our fractal.
Colin is E. Okay.
100 years of Guild Wars.
Okay, so is mobile a long-term focus or an experiment like prior Guild Wars 1 updates?
Yeah, this is a really good question. We've seen come up a lot in the last few days, and I think the most important message there is Guild Wars Reforged is the focus. And what we said on Saturday is that we are planning to support all of our games for years to come. And mobile is not a focus. Mobile is a platform that you can play Guild Wars Reforged on. And so, yes, absolutely, we're going to release Guild Wars Reforged on mobile devices. That is to get Guild Wars Reforged into more players' hands and to hopefully create millions and millions more Guild Wars fans around the world who want to play all of our Guild Wars games, including Guild Wars Reforged. And for all of us who love Guild Wars Reforged, another way that we can play that game when we're on the bus or when we're out and about, a different way that we can connect with Guild Wars.
How do you enjoy Guild Wars
mobile a
Reforged?
continuing focus? I would say, sure, yeah, but the more important message is that Reforged is the focus, and that's where we're going.
I might
think,
start playing Guild Wars
in the
Reforged,
video on
but
Saturday,
maybe
Josh laid out a pretty
off
specific
stream.
roadmap
Maybe
for Guild Wars 2 of what we're
maybe
focused
a
on
little
and what
bit on
we're doing.
stream.
And Steven's roadmap is less specific for Guild Wars Reforged intentionally, because we are focused right now on the next 2 beats, working with our co-dev partner 2 weeks. We're focused on releasing on mobile, and then we've announced that we're going to do a new type of update. And those are the next 2 big things on the calendar for Guild Wars Reforged. And then we're going to decide what happens after that. And I think that this has been a wild journey and experiment already. I think the Guild Wars Reforged anniversary resulted in a much bigger response than we ever expected, which allowed Guild Wars Reforged to happen in the first place. The release of Guild Wars Reforged has been a bigger event than we expected, which has allowed us to pursue doing it, taking the game to phone and extending other devices. And each thing that we're doing on Reforged continues to reinforce the investment and the continued response that we see from all of you and the new people going to play it. We don't know where that's going to go. And so we're really excited to see in the future. But certainly, yes, we're going to continue to support Guild Wars Reforged. And now, very soon, you'll also be able to play it on a phone. That is the very direct answer to that question. Cool.
I have nothing to add.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to ask you the next one.
Okay.
I think we waffled on who should answer this one, but I think that you could start.
Okay.
Will Guild Wars 2 ever come to console or mobile?
So direct
Not
answer,
mobile.
No. We'll just get that out of the way first, and then lots of context why. So historically, I'll start with the backstory here. We have multiple times looked at taking Guild Wars 2 to console, all the way back when Guild Wars 2 was in early development. We actually did plan to
the
release
game
it on
isn't
console,
playable
and
on
the first 2 years of
controller.
development of the engine and the game included a console team, and ultimately we reached a point where the decision was clear that we couldn't pursue that, and it wasn't a path that was going to work. And I'll let you talk a little bit about kind of the specifics behind all of that in a sec. But at that point, we decided all the way back, I think that was like in 2009, 2010, when effectively that initiative came to an end. And then again,
For sure.
around 2014,
Guild Wars 3 for sure.
when the game was exploding and free-to-play was happening, and Heart of Thorns and Guild Wars 2 in China, we asked again, could we go back and try to figure out how to get it to work on console? And again, we encountered a lot of the same answers and decided no. One last time, when you and I came back to the studio, we had those conversations with JT, who was the studio head at the time, and we came to the same conclusion of no, for all the same reasons, this isn't an option for us. And that's what Guild Wars 3 is about. Guild Wars 3 is a game that we're building from the ground up so that it can, from the tech side and from the gameplay experience side, work on console. And this goes to the thing that we said this last weekend. All of our Guild Wars games are very different. The gameplay experiences, the technology behind them.
Guild Wars 3
they're all
confirmed.
very
This guy
intentionally
doesn't know.
different so that they can be different games with different communities and some overlap between those communities. And so Guild Wars 3 will be the Guild Wars game that is made to be playable on console. Guild Wars Reforged is the Guild Wars game that is going to be playable on mobile devices, and Guild Wars 2 will not be coming to mobile or to console. Do you want to talk more about kind of the whys behind all of them?
Yeah, so I mean, I can only speak to the, when I say most recent, it was still years ago that we had this conversation, right? But, we really dove into, like, what are all the changes required to the game, to make to the game in order to be able to go onto PS5 or Xbox or whatever. And, I think the reality is there's just too many compromises we'd have to make with the game, and it would feel like a very different game than the game that we have today in order to be able to do that. And I think it was very important to us that we'd want that game to integrate nicely into the game that we already have, right? So we wouldn't want to create a separate standalone experience that's only for console. And
You can technically play though Guild Wars 2 on controller, but it's kinda
And in order to be able to make that happen, there's just so many compromises that I think it stops feeling like Guild Wars 2 and it feels like a different game. And, this is in, this is like 2021, 2022, I think, when we were talking about this.
Yep.
At that point, the game's been out for 9-10 years, and, like, I think that would just be I don't think we can.
Utilizing
We
char.
can't go and change the game so much that it feels like a very different game from the one that players have been playing for close to a decade at this point. So,
Someone has been playing Guild
love
Wars
the
1
idea.
too much.
Always sounded really cool to me. But I think that Colin's right that in order to do a game really well on console, you've kind of got to build it from the start with that in mind.
Yeah. And with Guild Wars 3 already in development, it
The
felt like
series.
that is our place to do that and to have that experience.
Is
and
Guild
I
Wars
think,
Reforged just
if you-
about killing charts all
Certainly
the
some of you
time?
will probably say, well, other games have, MMOs even years after launch have moved on to console. And each of them is their own unique experience, which with their own unique engine and tech stack. And for us, for our engine, for our tech stack, for our game and the gameplay experience, when you add up everything that's involved, it doesn't make sense for us. It has made sense for other games and other studios, and that's awesome. And we love to see more MMOs doing really well on as many devices as possible and as many consoles as possible. Honestly, a lot of the fire that forged Guild Wars 2 was lots of MMOs in development all at once, and awesome competition constantly pushing us to do better. And so we'd love to see as many MMOs on as many devices as we can, but that's just not something that you're going to see from Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 3 will be the console MMO game. Guild Wars Reforged will be the mobile MMO game at ArenaNet, and we don't plan to make any changes there for Guild Wars 2.
And also, I just think the idea of, like, players managing their inventory with a controller just feels like punishment. Honestly, like, can you
It
imagine
will be a
choosing not to use
punishment.
the controller? I know there's some Steam Deck players that are working through that, but just I don't think we could subject players to that. Yeah.
Well said.
Okay, so I think the next question is for you again. So I will read it for you.
Do you guys mind if I eat that?
Why does
at
ArenaNet
the same
believe
time?
it is important to offer 3 different games across 3 different parts of the Tyrian timeline? And what does this look like in the future?
So why 3 different games across 3 different timelines? And in particular, I think why 3 different games is maybe the most important question. And first, to wax poetic for a minute, the way that we make games at ArenaNet is we start by looking at, during the era of time that we're making our game, what are the player problems, what are the limitations, what are the challenges with the MMO genre at the time, and how do we solve for those? And so back when we made Guild Wars 1 and released that in 2005, we were solving for the problems of what we saw as that era of MMO experience. We tried to call it a cooperative RPG, CO-RPG, and not an MMO, but everyone ignored us and immediately informed us that we'd really shipped an MMO. And so we've just kind of abandoned trying to call it that, and we accepted that everyone says it was an MMO. It's a very unique kind of MMO, but an MMO nonetheless. And then Guild Wars 2 came out in a different era and tried to solve for the problems and challenges and limitations of MMOs in the timeline when it was in development and released in 2012. And now that we're making a new game, it is another era of MMOs. And I think, in particular, most MMO fans are still playing the same MMOs from 10 years ago. And there hasn't been very many new ones across that period of time. And many of those new MMOs have been more of kind of retreads of older ideas or older game systems. There hasn't been a ton of unique innovation. There's been some, which is awesome to see. We love people making MMOs. We cheer like crazy for all of them to be successful. But there hasn't been a lot in the last decade plus. And so it feels like the right time for us to make another Guild Wars game that solves for different problems. So I think that's the why are we making another one now, is because we feel like the industry, the genre, and ArenaNet is ready for it, and Guild Wars is ready for it. It's been 19 years since we announced a new game at ArenaNet. 19. Let that sink in.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
That feels like a reasonable wait and a reasonable pause for us to announce a new one. So that's the why are we making another Guild Wars game, is because we feel like the genre and ArenaNet and Guild Wars are all ready for it. Why do we want to have 3 different MMOs we support at the same time? Is because we feel like they're all very different types of games, and as a result, they can be appealing to very different types of gamers. And we know at its core there will be some overlap, and our hope will be that there's a lot of overlap of people who just love Guild Wars and want to play all 3 games and continue to do so far into the future. That would be the perfect situation for ArenaNet. But we really want to provide 3 uniquely distinct MMO experiences.
There is no jumping in Guild Wars 1?
To attract different types of gamers, different types
of MMO fans.
For Guild Wars 2, one of the things we said is if you hate MMOs, you should go play this game too. And I think, a very similar concept applied to Guild Wars 1 in its timeline. It was a very different type of MMO. And Guild Wars 3 as well has a bunch of new and big ideas that we'll talk about far into the future that are also things that we hope both are really exciting to people who love the MMO genre, but also bring an entirely new fan base into the MMO genre for Guild Wars.
Really? There's no jumping in Guild Wars 1?
To stand on its own. And I think there's something really exciting, compelling about 3 different MMOs, all in the Guild Wars franchise, running at the same time, in the same way that so many other game franchises have games in different genres or different types, or now even in the MMO space. I mean, I think.
Okay, he's talking about FF4, about Final Fantasy, by the way.
And now, in another potential Classic Plus coming. Those are 3 different MMOs running simultaneously in the same game. They aren't even that different, and it's successful for Blizzard.
Guild Wars 2 Classic confirmed.
EverQuest, you got EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2, and EverQuest 1 is on like expansion 27 or something now, which is incredible, and it's awesome to see. And I think Final Fantasy is another great example of how many Final Fantasies have there been, and even different versions of 7 now. And they've got multiple MMOs in the Final Fantasy space that are successful. There's a lot of examples across the industry.
Colin confirmed he plays Final Fantasy.
It's been successful for us, for Guild Wars 1 and for Guild Wars 2. And so we see an opportunity here to carve out another type of Guild Wars within the MMO space for players to play. And I think our
Colin said that
FF connecting those experiences together is part of what makes ArenaNet and Guild Wars unique. The Hall of Monuments concept, where you get rewards in Guild Wars 2 for playing Guild Wars 1, was originally concepted as a way for us to say thank you to all of our Guild Wars fans who played Guild Wars 1, and to keep our studio pillar alive of we respect your time, we respect your investment, and we wanted to feel like all of that time and investment you made in Guild Wars 1, we were going to respect it when we released Guild Wars 2, but it did something magical that we never really expected, which is over years and years that followed, it continually drove Guild Wars 2 players back to play Guild Wars 1, now called Guild Wars Reforged, to get all of those rewards. And it created this franchise ecosystem where the two games could live alongside one another. And now in retrospect, I wish that we had much earlier invested a lot more into Guild Wars Reforged to try to nurture that ecosystem and allow both of those games to run. And it's part of what we're doing, why we're doing today. And it's the same reason we're doing now a much more expansive Hall of Monuments 2.0 and connecting Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3 together is first and foremost, it's a way for us to say thank you, to continue our pillar of your time is respected, your investment is respected in the Guild Wars franchise. And so all that time you put into Guild Wars 2, not only are we going to keep supporting Guild Wars 2 because we want to respect your time, but if you love Guild Wars 3, there's a bunch of thank yous waiting for you in that game as well. But also it creates an ecosystem where everyone who plays Guild Wars 3 for the first time, it's an opportunity for them to go back into Guild Wars 2, play the game, and get all of those rewards. And that is a very uniquely ArenaNet experience of having a Hall of Monuments that lives at the center. In a sense, almost kind of, it's like a Manifesto 2.0, but not for a game, but for our studio. We want to have an ecosystem that our games are connected together, that your investment and rewards are connected together and respected, and that you feel like you can play any of our Guild Wars games and have that connection to the franchise that pays off for you in the long run, and that you can have very different experiences in them. And this is, the last thing I'll say on this, this is really
great.
passion. This is one of my core passions for ArenaNet, and we've been talking about internally for years now about where we want to go. And so it's so cool to be able to tell people finally, externally, that this is what we want to do. I think there's a version of this that someday after Guild Wars 3 releases where, there's always that lull in the games you play of like, between updates, you ship an update and then you wait a while until the next one's going to ship, and there's kind of a time fall off in between where things are at their least exciting until you announce the next update. I think there's a version of this that can be really compelling for us where when one game is in its lull moment, we're announcing and releasing the newest update in another game. And
that would be
so
pretty
our
cool.
games can
That would
kind
be
of
pretty cool.
leapfrog off
Pretty
of
cool.
one another. And if you are just a Guild Wars fan, you're in heaven. There's stuff going on all the time for you across all of our games.
Yeah, that's
and if you
pretty
just
cool.
love one of our games, that's okay too, and we're going to keep updating.
They're gonna
it,
make
but
like
that we're able to
release
stagger
windows so
and
they
have
don't
our ecosystems of games support one
collide
another
with each other.
and have their updates offset from one another. I think there's something really compelling there. And we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I think, obviously we have to do the really hard things of like shipping a new game and making sure that it's a game that people actually like, and continuing to support GW2 and everything that we want to do with Reforged. That is incredibly, these are all easy things to say. They're very hard things for us to do. But we have to go do all of those things first. But if it works, there's a version of this in the future that I think is really cool to dream about, of someday we could be at that point where that's what the Guild Wars franchise is. And then who knows where we go from there.
I mean, I don't think we're dreaming. I think we're actively taking steps towards achieving that. So
this last weekend was a huge first step towards that, and the work we've done the last 3 years has been setting the table for that. Right?
Absolutely.
I don't know anything else there that you want to.
Oh, you crushed it. It was great. You should be the studio head or something. I don't know. I think you got the right stuff for the job, kid.
Thanks, man.
No, I guess maybe this is going to be probably an obvious thing to say out loud, but we talk a lot about these games being very different, and I know that folks will find out much more about that in the coming months and years or whatever the timeline is. But I think an important thing to understand too is that these games are on different timelines in Tyria, right? And so there's going to be stories or opportunities for stories to tell in Guild Wars 2 that are not a possibility in 3, and the same thing is true for Reforged as well, right? I hate to break it to folks, and maybe I'm breaking some news here, but Timey's probably not going to be in Guild Wars 3. And so, I hate to break that to folks. I don't know if there's,
No, Bram.
But there's a whole cast of characters that folks have come to love, and what Tyria looks like in the current timeline of Guild Wars 2 is very different from what it's going to look like in Guild Wars 3. And so we know a lot of folks have a lot of attachment to those characters. We want to continue finding new stories to tell. Maybe go back and close some open story threads that still exist in the game. But there's so much left to explore left in Guild Wars 2.
Down with Charles,
Yeah,
never
there's
forget us,
so
Callum.
many compelling characters and storylines and you know, threads that we've left open in Guild Wars 2 to explore for decades to come. And I think, you know, I saw, this wasn't in our things we were going to talk about either, but
Going off script?
off script. Here we go. We've only done it about 100 times so far
buckling
already. Why not one more? You know, I saw a lot of comments as people talked about the different timelines of, you know, one of the things that makes Guild Wars 2 unique is the technology. And it's, you know, it is a little magitech and a little bit of sci-fi has blended itself in. And as that timeline continues to move forward, we're going to continue to see the advances of in the world of Tyria. And one of the reasons we picked the timeline we did for Guild Wars 3 is very intentionally, it's a very different experience. You're talking about a timeline of high fantasy where there is almost no technology compared to even what GW1 had. And the technological advances from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2 are massive when you compare them to the amount of technological advances that happened in the timeline from Guild Wars 3 to Guild Wars 1. The technological advances in that period of time are much smaller across that period of time. And I think it allows us to have Guild Wars 2 is a game that has a really, especially now, some of the stuff the Asura and the Char have created, there's some really cool, unique feels to that game and that world that won't exist in Guild Wars 3 that will feel different, that will feel more grounded, high fantasy experience at a different time in a different era. And I think that even though each of those games will have their own storylines, their own characters, their own settings that we're going to continue to expand constantly across all three of the games, there also is places where they will connect together and have stories that crisscross across those storylines. Guild Wars 1, in many ways,
is
set up
alive
so
in
many of
Guild
the
Wars
stories that you experience in
3.
Guild Wars 2. And some of the things you're going to experience in Guild Wars 3 are things that have been set up in Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 over the last 21 plus years of the franchise. And who knows in the future how some of those stories, there may be things that happen in the different games that have connections to stories that have happened in the other games in ways that we think are really cool and have been really fun to watch people speculate all weekend long. The lore videos and even the timeline and me misspeaking on the timeline in an interview the other day. Whoops. All of that stuff has created a huge amount of speculation and discussion. And that's the point. That's part of the joy of this, is allowing these mysteries. I think that's one of the great things about the Guild Wars franchise, is we leave enough mysteries and question marks and stories for people to explore and theorize and make fan videos on and debate. And we don't want to stop that. We want to keep having more of those while answering some of those questions that then open new ones. And you're going to see a lot of that both in the coming years and far into the future as well. It's fun to think about everything ahead of us. All right, we're done with that question. Well, speaking of the future, I think our last question. This is a good one for you, Josh. What does Guild Wars 2 look like
Last
5 to 10
question.
years from now?
Yeah, this is a great question. You know, I think I forgot what I said in the video exactly, so I'm gonna paraphrase here a little bit. But I think we feel a lot of responsibility in ensuring that Guild Wars 2 remains a place that people feel comfortable calling their home. A place that they feel comfortable returning to and spending all of their time or as little time as they want to in the game. And so like that ultimately is our goal. But like how do you do that, right? Like how do you make sure that people feel like their time's being valued, that they're getting enough from the experience? Well, we got to keep delivering, obviously, right? And so a couple years from now, we'll be multiple additional expansions will have launched by then. Hopefully, we've made some pretty good headway on our modernization.
Just to be clear, you said a couple of years from now, multiple expansions would have shipped.
Oh,
I
sorry,
want to clarify.
5 to 10 years from now, we'll have many.
Just to make sure everybody is clear, that's not happening in the next 2 years. So.
Oh my gosh. Should I start over?
No, you're good.
kidding.
In the next 5 to 10 years, there'll be more expansions.
Point is, looking out 5 to 10 years from now, we'll have multiple expansions out. I think hopefully a lot of the modernization efforts. I gotta find a better word than modernization. That's a really hard word to say. A lot.
It does sound really close to monetization also, which is not
Yeah.
the
That is
message.
not it.
Yeah.
I thought we were
Okay,
talking
we'll
about
top that
monetization
one.
in the beginning too.
We don't really have like a term for it.
The Reforged, well, that's taken.
Oh yeah. I don't know. We'll come up. We'll get the marketing team on it to help us out. But yeah, anyways, like I'm hoping that we see a lot of great improvements in the modernization work that we're going to be doing, which I'm again personally very excited about. hopefully a lot of the work that we're doing under the hood will be, in terms of like fidelity and optimization and whatnot, will be very visible and present in the new content we're developing. But like I said, there's just so many places to explore still that we want to go to Interior. So many different storylines and stories to be told. Some new ones that we will manufacture, but I think also closing the loop on a lot of open threads that have been in the game for many years now. So I think in a lot of ways, hopefully it feels very similar to it does right now, right? Like
Can we get Goric finally back? I miss Goric,
We're
bro.
just taking a very
I miss
a
Goric.
bit of a break to move and focus on a different thing for right now. But we're gonna get back at it here very shortly. Actually, expansions take a while to develop, so we'll actually be starting development on it next year. But you won't hear about it until after the release of Guild Wars 3. But again, hopefully it feels very similar to what it does right now.
And I think that's what people want. That's perfect. More of what they love, which is what you love about Guild Wars 2. We want to just keep giving you more of that.
Cool. Well, I think that hits everything. The fun thing about this is we can't see chat. I have no idea how this is going.
Yeah, we may have bombed historically at this point.
I think it's going okay.
No,
issues aside,
but
I think it's going
I'm
okay.
talking about Guild Wars
But,
2.
obviously, we'd love to hear more feedback on what you folks are thinking about. This isn't going to be the last time we're communicating about any of this. This is in some ways the very start of a long campaign, especially for Guild Wars 3.
Absolutely.
And so, as you folks
This is start of campaign.
One, if it's about the game itself, there's a new forum that we've launched. You should go drop your comments there. Complain about event timers specifically. But if you've got other thoughts and feedback, obviously we're going to be watching the forums and Discord, and I'm sure we'll get a recap on how chat's been going. Very excited, looking forward to that.
And we've got our official Discord now. Great place to go to discuss all of this and theorycraft together for years in the future. And as Josh said, we have our new forum threads where you can call out specifically what do you want to see improved in GW2. And Josh said it earlier, please don't write Josh said we should do this or else we will ignore the thing you said.
Most important thing in this whole live stream.
But you can go in there and anything that you're excited about, anything that you want to see changed in the existing game and any of the expansions, please put those in there. We really, really appreciate it. And I think you said it earlier, there were literally thousands of questions across this weekend. And so if we didn't cover one of the ones that you thought was most important, we did our best to pick out the ones that we thought were most impactful that we could talk about right now. I think also we didn't want to pick ones that we would just basically say we can't say anything about that right now. And so know that, as Josh said,
Do you guys feel like this was a little bit like a nothing
We'll
burger?
be hearing from a lot more from ArenaNet in the future as we talk about 3 games
I want
now.
Blish in Guild Wars 3.
And,
There
we've
is
got a
no
lot of
Blish in
big
Guild Wars
stuff
3 because
coming
there's no
here
Max
even
in
very
Guild Wars
soon.
3.
Actually, this just dawned on me. I do want to add that I know it's been a little uncomfortably silent from the Guild Wars 2 team in recent months, and I think obviously now it's probably pretty clear as to why that was the case. It was hard to talk about our future within the context of what Guild Wars 3 is, and so obviously that's not how we want to operate, and it's not how we've been operating in recent years. We've been trying to be very transparent, providing very long-term roadmaps, what we're doing with the product. And that's definitely what we're getting back to. It was just a bit of a weird period to be in with the announcement looming there, and so hopefully that explains why things were kind of going the way they were. But now that that's out in the open, I think it allows us to be a bit more free, and hopefully as evidenced by today's live stream.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
I think it's part of why we announced Guild Wars 3 now too, is so that we could make sure before the final update for this Guild Wars 2 expansion completes, that we could tell all of you where we're going and what's going on. I think that was really important to us, is to maintain that transparency and that long-term vision for everybody of where's the franchise going, where is the game going, and we didn't want you to get to the last update for VOE and look around and go, well, now what's coming next? We wanted to answer that question before we got there, and so yeah, we you know where we're headed, and now we can talk more about GW2 as well. Though we've got a huge update coming for Guild Wars Reforged, coming out on mobile devices this summer. We've got our next major QR coming.
Biggest QR, actually. I know QA is
Oh.
splitting.
Nice.
Biggest
QR
QR.
so far, so we're very excited about that one.
By the end of the year, we've got our new Hall of Monuments 2.0 will have its first release. Very exciting there. And then we've got tons more news for Guild Wars 3 that you'll hear as time goes on too. So there's a heck of a lot going on with the Guild Wars franchise right now. It is a really, really exciting time. I hope for all of you. As it
Drop
is
one
for
more
us.
art.
And Josh said it earlier, and I think it bears repeating. we all have the same goals. We want to see the franchise and the games that you love really healthy with lots of people playing them, and they're continually being updated. And we know that's what all of you want out of the games. That's the same thing that we want to have happen with all
One
of our games.
screenshot,
And
please.
hopefully that this plan and the path that we're on ensures that that happens. Certainly 4 days in, the results are pretty spectacular, but we know that we got a long ways to go and a lot of beats ahead of us. But we really appreciate everyone's support. All of the positive reactions and you know, also constructive feedback that we've had too. Both are very much appreciated. And it'd be really fun if 15 years from now we're back here having conversations about where the franchise is as a result of everything that we talked about today.
And we said jokingly Guild Wars 4 and Roller Beetle Racing earlier. That was a joke.
Yes, please
To be clear.
don't quote us on that.
It's a little
That's
premature
right.
for that one.
No Guild Wars 4.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out and kind of weathering some of the stumbles with us. But hopefully this was valuable. I guess we'll find out very shortly if it was.
Yeah, if we're never allowed back on a live stream again, you'll know it didn't work. So, thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks all.
See you hard.
Come on! No one. Still. Guild Wars 4 when? In 15 years. Honestly, I thought we were gonna learn a little bit more. But still, not bad. That's not bad. Holy shit, Teapot had 4.5k people on stream. That's crazy, by the way. Okay, I mean, yeah, we didn't learn much. Here's the summary I wrote. So 1, after Hall of Monuments, our map and World vs. War map and retouch of the game, they go back to annual expansions. 2, ambitious plan, but can they deliver? We already have been for years. Self-contained teams for each of the game. Team has been building expansions for Guild Wars 2. Will stay on Guild Wars 2. Well, okay, Hall of Monuments won't be backwards compatible. No. Hall of Monuments will be backwards compatible. It's gonna be a mix of time investment and some new stuff. Divided into 2 releases of Hall of Monuments. First is core game, second is story, and then each expansion living world with returning to style events release every month. Guild Wars Reforged won't be connected to Guild Wars 3. Guild Wars 3, no, Guild Wars 3 is set after Doom imprisonment. After Grenf became God of Death. Because he said that Guild Wars 3 is coming after one of the gods have been deposed. And after yeah. So we can assume it's gonna be after Doom imprisonment and Hall of Chains. Yeah, we didn't learn much. Honestly, I thought we were gonna learn. I think if they said like literally one sentence about Guild Wars 3, it would be more hype. And I think a lot of people thought it's gonna be this as well, but still, I think it's pretty good stream from them. Because they can, like, it's open communication, which I think is very important. And I think they probably looked on Riot Games, because Riot Games is very open about like about with the devlogs and shit. And I think it helps a lot about the reputation of the game, and I think it can help for Guild Wars.